As usual, welcome to Tembea Study. Remember to subscribe on all our social handles, starting with YouTube, then TikTok, Instagram. Wherever you see us, just press subscribe, because the stuff that we share, they're just quality. We take our time to prepare. We take our time to make sure that we set you up for success, and that's our goal. So let's talk about student life part 2. We talked about the preparations that we always have in place, and mostly when it comes to finances and the struggles that families have. And then we talked about being flexible and being open-minded for other options that you might consider. Because if you're only targeting one particular country and it's not working, then why not? Why should you not think about other options? Maybe think about going to Arab Emirates or somewhere else, or another country that is not that complicated or maybe difficult. And then now let's assume you have managed to get a visa, and then you travel to a country like Canada, USA, Australia. So before even you get a visa, there is a process that you have to follow. You have to do English test, which is English test, before you even apply for the visa, and then you have to go for your medicals. Now, did you know that most people think IELTS it's the only English test that you can do? Nope. If actually, you might think that most people know, but most people don't actually know in many countries. So there are so many options that you can actually do your English test with. All you need to do is to check with the school that you're going whether they accept that particular type of English. So let's say, for example, if you're doing IELTS and you're maybe struggling with it. Some people might be struggling with IELTS, but PTE is another option. So the question is, instead of struggling so much and maybe failing, redoing it again, unless the course that you're doing actually requires you to have IELTS. So unless you need this, why can't you consider also doing PTE? That's another option that you can consider. So long as it's accepted in your course. But there are some courses that you only require IELTS. It's the only English that is required. There is also Cambridge. There's all these other languages that you can actually consider. But sometimes you just need to have an idea of what options you have. Because the problem is, we might actually have the money, you have all other resources, but then the options that they are very limited, and that forces you even to make decisions that will give you a hard time later on. So if IELTS is not working, consider going with PTE. This will be very helpful. Some people will do well in this, but won't do good in this. Others will do good in this, others will do this. And many countries are already offering both options. So if you're not limited to one language, try the other. It will be helpful. Why not? Alright. So now, let's go to the other point. You have already got all this. Step 2. Before you even go to an agent to say, hey, I need to go to Australia and I need to study methodology, or I need to study statistics or whatever. There is an idea that maybe you've been brought up with, thinking about what is the best profession in the world. And maybe because of the environment and the country and the options that you have, the only option that you have in your head is, I want to become an engineer, or I want to become an IT specialist, or I want to become a business analyst, or I want to become... That's okay. But then you need to remember this. Every country has different requirements and demands of professions. So some countries will want more doctors. Other countries do not need doctors. Some countries will want engineers. Other countries don't. So if you only put your mind into, unless I become an IT specialist, then I'm not successful. That means that if you're traveling to a country that doesn't need engineers or specialists, IT specialists, then by the end of the day you won't be able to achieve what you might need to achieve later. What am I talking about here? So assume, for example, you're traveling to Canada, and then by the end of the year or by the end of your schooling time, Canadians or the government is wanting more engineers or specialists, and for that time maybe you've studied your specialist. You'll become a permanent resident or a citizen easily in that country. But assume you're moving to a country and you're really struggling even to make the decision of what you want to do. Before you even visit the agent and say, education agent, and say, look, I want to travel to this country and I want to do this degree. It is always important for you to understand the system of every particular country. Understand what do they want in future. Right now, we have AI going on and everyone is just going crazy about AI, and AI is becoming the next big thing. A few years ago, accountants were so important. They were so like in high demand. They are still important, but they were in high demand then. IT people were also in high demand. Doctors, nurses, everyone was in high demand. But now, look how things are shifting. Now, things are actually shifting not only to computers and who has computer knowledge, but now to AI. We don't even know the next 5 years. You might be surprised that you need to know how to operate a robot for you to get a visa. That's how things shift in the Western countries. And if you migrate to any of the Western countries, think about that. Think about what do they want and what is in demand before you go, or you just apply for any course. You might just go and say, hey, I want to go and study in Australia. And you don't even specify to the agent. And guess what? This, because agents are busy, they have their own things to do. They have like 100 people they are looking after. They have 20 clients to see every single day. They don't have the time to research on your behalf. Some, they don't have that time. So they check your qualifications, well and good. So they know your qualifications, but they don't know your vision. These are two different things. So if you only target your qualification and you let them make the decision depending on this, what are you losing? You're losing your vision. And how do you create your vision? You might have the qualifications, yes, but how do you create a vision? You only create a vision when you know what you want and what you want to become. Well and good. And then, so that your vision can be more successful, you need to align your vision with the demand of the countries that you are heading or you're planning to go. So, if New Zealand is a country that you're planning to live, study, and work, you need to do some research and understand, because they always publish all this information on the website and publish and say, look, I'm traveling to this country and I'm thinking about the demands and the jobs that they might need in future in the next 5 years. So all this information, because these countries are database, they got all these powers, information just ready for you. But do we ever get time to study or to read or even to investigate further? No, we are too busy. Or we got enough money for the agent to sort it out. But if you have a good understanding and actually target yourself very well, then you place yourself in a way that once you get into that country, you won't even struggle for a bit after school. Everything will just work through the process. And some of the problems that you're facing today, and I know most students can agree with me, they travel to Australia to study a degree that they have never chosen, or in New Zealand, or they travel to study degrees that have been chosen by others. Why? Because we have put that trust to migration agents instead of actually making the decisions ourselves because of poor research work. But have an understanding, unless it's something that you just want to study and do it out of passion, that's a different story. But if you are really looking to align your vision with the demand of a country and become somebody who will be well paid, live great, live in that country, maybe that's your vision, straight away you need to align your vision, not only your qualifications. Align your vision with the future, and you'll be able then to achieve the dream of your life. But if you don't, take your papers and say, hey agent, these are my papers, I got an A minor, can you get me a course in Australia or in New Zealand or in Canada or in USA? And guess what the agent will do? So let's say you have a bachelor's, for example, you did well in first class, but you didn't do your research. So you can go to master's in, call it animal production, or marketing, or what other masters do you think would be interesting? This doesn't mean these courses are not good. They are very, very good. But the problem is, if you're not doing this out of passion, if you're doing this to satisfy demand of a particular country, then do some research. Because that means by the time you finish your schooling, you'll be in demand. And what will happen? Not only will you be applying, but you'll be looked for. People will be looking for you. Companies will be looking for you because you are specialized in something that they want. So please, let me write it again. Please, before you go for before you start any visa application, do your research. Do your research. That's the secret. If you do, you'll get in this country or in these countries, and you will not only will you only study, but after your studies, you will be marketable. That's the secret. See you next time.